All right, so I'm here with a super stud, a hero, Silver Star recipient, has like 19, I'm exaggerating on the Bronze Stars, but I'm not joking, like a half a dozen or more Bronze Stars, Purple Heart, Navy SEAL, but most important...
Recon Marine.
And Recon.
That was a Recon Marine before everything.
Yeah, but most important that I follow him is his leadership. He has a really cool mindset, so I was going to fire some questions. Well, introduce yourself.
Mike Sarraille, he retired out of the SEAL teams, but actually started in the U.S. Marine Corps, which laid the foundation to be successful, man. Once Marine, always Marine.
Mike is, I think, a savant on a mindset approach to life. And so I'm just going to fire random 10 questions and see what his takes are. So what do you think should happen in a day for you as a man?
Well, you know, it's going to start in the morning. I always get a workout in the morning. If I don't start my day off with a workout, or even if it's a rest day, like Bikram yoga, as lame as that sounds, which awesome. Is a workout, that's what sets my day. And there's certain things like, hey, when McCraven said make your bed, they might sound lame, but it's those small things, those habitual things that set you up for success. And if you can do those small things right throughout the day, but there's other things like, hey, I'm going to tell my family that I love them. And then the last thing that is critical is my personal AAR. If you don't know what that is in the military, we call it an after-action review. At the end of the day, it's my self-reflection of what did I do? What did I do well? But more importantly, what do I need to fix in order to improve the next day? Sick. If you're not reflecting, you're not growing.
Every day. What does your diet look like?
So, you know, as I get older, this gets increasingly more important. The main thing is, hey, you know, I'm not advocating going die hard on everything. Alcohol, you got to be very disciplined with alcohol, have a drink here and there. But now I've got to be very specific with counting my macros based off my body weight and what my goals are. Am I trying to put on a little muscle? Then I'm going to do clean bulking. If I'm cutting, then I got to be in a caloric deficit. And if I'm not tracking my macros, then I'm not progressing. So I've got to be more disciplined the older I get with my diet.
In time management, what do you do to stay efficient? Like how do you manage time?
So this one is getting harder, and I know you're in about 12 different verticals, and I'm not in as many verticals as you are, but I've got to block off time where I don't take phone calls. I have to set aside, and I've got an assistant, Alicia Silva, who's awesome. She helps me. We block off her calendar. That's when I get work done. I set aside time to answer emails, take phone calls, but it's also the little things of turning off the phone for the chimes, the texts, and also social media. I know it's the tool, how we outreach to people, but I cannot check social media until the end of the day. It'll suck me in, and that's why I just wait until the end of the day, give it 30 minutes, and then I'm
done. I started using the feature in the Apple phone where it tells you how much you're on an app, and I produce a ton of content that goes on there, but I had 3 hours an average a day of social media, and I thought that I was never on it except when I was posting or shaping, and that hurt. So I've shaved that down to 30 minutes in a day.
So Libby, we're writing a book right now called The Everyday Warrior with some friends of mine. I do all my books, I do it with friends because it's not that interesting to write my own autobiography. But by the time you are 50, based off the averages that people spend on social media, by the time you're 50, you've spent over 5 years of your life on social media. Oh, yeah. That is not freaking healthy, dude. Yeah. That's 5 years you could put into jiu-jitsu too. I'm sure you can get a black belt within 5 years if you're dedicated. That's time.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're on question number 5 is, what do you value in life?
So since I've retired, I've done a lot of reflection. I hit a dark point, mainly not PTSD. Guys, I understand that for some people it's more survivor's guilt for guys from special operations. You had no problem with the booms, the bangs, or taking lives that deserve not to be on this earth. I have no problem with that whatsoever. But leaving brothers behind and what I value, I was not the best father when I was at war because we were constantly gone. And the thing that matters is not how much money you're buried with. What did Alexander the Great say? Hey, bury me with my hands outside my grave. I came into the world with nothing. I left with nothing. Those things don't matter. It's the impact you have on people's lives, the impact you have on your kids, the impact you have on your wife, the impact you have on your family, and the impact you have on your tribe and your friends. And so I'm trying to focus on impacting people more, adding more value to their lives than they impact mine. And if I can do that, then I consider that a life well lived.
Man, you got good answers. All right, number 6 is, who do you follow? Like, who are your kind of favorites, whether it be on social media, on podcasts, influencers, authors? I'll ask your question number 7 will be give me 5 favorite books. But this one is currently alive today. Who are you tapped into?
So let me preface it with this. I don't worship anyone. You know, if a famous person coming into the room, I'm like, hey, that's cool. I respect them for the profession and their craft. But following you, guys like McChrystal, McCraven, Jocko Willink is an inspiring dude. And then there's authors like Simon Sinek that I read. So there's a lot of people I follow. It all goes down that proverb, iron sharpens iron, so as one man sharpens another. If you surround yourself with people that hold a higher bar, then eventually you start to climb towards that bar. And it's the same with special operations. I was never the bride. I was always the bridesmaid, and I was fine with that. Like supporting dudes that were just wildly good at what they did. And almost through osmosis, I became better. So always find people that are better than you and follow them. Even if you don't know them on social media, there's a lot of books I've read where I've never met the authors that impacted my life. And even if you take 2 things from a book, you take those and you put them in your tool bag. Yeah. And so I'm receptive to everyone, even if somebody's a world-class pianist and you listen to how they live their lives, there's something I can take away from them.
Good answer.
Yeah.
Number 7, reading list.
So,
five high levels.
Absolutely. Guys I respect, like Team of Teams, General McChrystal, Once an Eagle, which was mandatory reading. Basically 2 types of military leaders, one who's out for publicity and rank, and the other who's just cares about his men. That was a great book. I'm looking forward to your book. I'm going to be honest. Can't wait to read it. What other books? I'm embarrassed. Measure What Matters. A lot of business books out there. The $1 Trillion Coach, Bill Campbell, who is an absolute stud in Silicon Valley.
I'm reading Tony Robbins right now.
Really?
Yeah. Well, it's a totally different.
The guy's good, man.
He is.
The guy's good.
It was really about like money management and time management. I just wanted to, you want to talk about verticals. Dude, that dude is in all of them. So I was like, all right, how does he do it? Like now, juggling all of that. So that's, I never thought I'd be reading a Tony Robbins book. But
it's funny when you're in the military, you read more business books, and business leaders read more books about war.
Yeah.
And that's like, I love sitting down with business leaders, even when we were in the military, to trade like best practices, like how do you guys run organizations, how we run organizations. And again, you're learning from their warriors within their respective professions. Yeah. They're not warriors in the classical sense like you are, but I can still learn from guys who run cutting edge organizations.
Number 8 is, what is some way that someone can give back to the military community that matters to you?
So I'm an ambassador for the Special Operations Warrior Foundation, which sits right next to the U.S. Special Operations Command. They fund, and I just raised $160,000 for them on an expedition, but their charter is they fund the education of the children of the men and women who gave their lives within the Special Operations.
Yeah. What's the name of that? What's that org again?
Special Operations Warrior Foundation. It's run by General Clay Hutmacher, 40 years Marine, little bird pilot. Just the guy's a badass, and it's a good foundation. We're taking care of the kids who lost their parents.
Yeah, I'll drop that in the copy at the bottom. But go donate, follow that, support that. Mike says so. And last question: if you were going to give a parting word to your son as he steps onto the plane, a C-17, to fly into Afghanistan or into Iraq or into the Ukraine, what is the last thing? I remember the last sentence that my dad told me was, son, just because you can doesn't mean that you should. And that has saved my soul and it saved my mind. What would you say?
So
I'm going to end heavy, man. Sorry.
Yeah. No, this is deep. And again, a reflection into what a warrior is. You just talked about restraint. Because you can crush somebody doesn't mean that you should. Somebody asked me, Hollywood puts out a certain image of a warrior, and it's usually the loud guy in the room beating his chest. Somebody asked me about, hey, what about the most lethal warriors you served with? And when I was not the most lethal warrior, I was an officer. I put the resources for the guys to do what they do best and support them as I could. But the most lethal warriors I served with were the most empathetic, kind, respectful people. They wouldn't tell you how many medals they won, how many deployments they had, how many people they killed. And everyone gravitated to them for who they were and what they stood for, and they made everyone around them better. And they were lethal when they needed to be, but it was almost like empathy on a dimmer switch. They knew when to dial up the empathy, and they knew when to dial it down to take lives. So there's the rules of war, and I would tell my son, hey, follow them, do what's right. You may have to make some decisions that are in the gray, morally gray area, but you also want to bring all your people home, because that's the biggest moral injury. I know you've been there where you've had a teammate that doesn't come home, but that's also the impacts of war. It's not clean.
All right, the last two questions were for a reason. Like, those are the things that are most important to me, is how do we shape the next generation and how do we give back to the community? I'm going to put Mike in his handle in the copy here, so please follow Mike. He's an amazing, inspirational man. He is also a prophetic leader that is so inspirational. So give him a follow, support the foundation, stay safe and stay free, and God bless.